Mr. Sumola is a leader and is somebody that is always available to be called on. But the reason I just jumped in is just because, my that pastor in me just said, we should pray. So I thought we should just have a quick prayer because, of course, this platform is still started by the church. So I'll just quickly say what a prayer. Father, we thank you for today. We bless you for every single person connected with us right now. We ask that you will bless the words that we would hear. We'll pray that the meditations of our hearts would also be helpful. And we'll pray that at the end of the day, we will be edified. We'll pray for all our speakers to give them unction, give them the right words to speak. And we'll pray that at the end of today, we'll be blessed and we'll be better off. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen.
All right, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me, Pastor Borire. And it's always good to share some ideas and knowledge with the beautiful Gates people. I think this is my second coming. And I hope, except that today we're talking on a different area, which is pretty much on the area of career progression and looking at various different ways how to rapidly, progress in your career. We also look at the benefits and the issues that kind of surrounds switching careers, and also look at the issue of networking within both corporate and community level. But we start with looking at the which is how to progress your career. I know when I hear the word rapid, it kind of scares me a little bit, and you kind of ask yourself, what's the rush? I guess when you have a lot of energy in you and you are very fast and you're dynamic and you're very driven, then the word rapid comes into it. But in the process of trying to progress your career, there are three broad areas I think we can pretty much take on board. And the first one is to broaden your knowledge and also refine your skills. What do I mean by that? Excuse me. Look, you already have a set of skills by going to either finishing year 12 or going for traineeship or apprenticeship or going to university. That set of skills probably gives you the opportunity or a door into the industry in which you are now considered an employee. But does that knowledge itself gives you the opportunity to progress or have a growth within that industry? Yes, but to a limited level, unless you also give yourself the opportunity in terms of a career development. By this, you need to set yourself goals and create a plan on how to achieve this. And by the time you get to the age of working, there are a lot of factors that comes into it that puts demands on your time. It therefore means that your ability to prioritize your time and to be able to set a goal and work towards achieving that goals will help you have a rapid career progression. Also, in the process, you need to continuously work on programs that will help develop yourself and also develop your management skills. This in itself will help you very much to get recognition within the industry or within the company in which you work, and it will allow the company to give you some set of tasks that will probably set you aside. And it will allow you to, another thing you need to do in the process of developing yourself is to identify company programs and how you can utilize them to develop yourself. So you need to know what are the programs offered by the company, what are the set of, for example, some company can say, if you're an accountant, they say, okay, if you become a CPA, we will fund you and we'll pay for everything. So becoming a CPA comes at no cost to you. if you can tap into that kind of programs, and because the company has funded you, of course they want some returns. So in order to get that returns, they give you better opportunities so that you can stay. The other way, the second way for you to progress in your career is to make effort to understand the ways and methods that your company operates in order to maximize your own productivity to the company. Often people get into job, and because the job is cushy, they sit back and just do the norms. They do the basics. They tend to just do 9 to 5, which is fine. But most often they limit themselves to the tasks that they've been assigned. And by so doing, they are limiting their opportunity to operate within the widest frame.
Sorry, sir, you're muted.
I think you're muted, sir.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem.
Can everyone hear me now? Yeah.
Yes, we can. If you can just go
Okay.
back to a few lines before you went
Okay.
mute.
Yeah. What I was trying to drive out there is that when you take interest to understand the way in which your company operates, then it means you can be more proactive or help that business to grow in an organic fashion, in which the management of that business will appreciate your input, and that could skyrocket you. So even if you haven't done any other additional skills, you haven't gone to uni, you haven't done anything, but by just knowing how the company operates and comparing the company to other competitive businesses around doing the same thing, and you are able to bring that level of understanding or input into the business, which becomes a big synergy for the business, that could take you to another level. So it's something they say, know your environment. So you live in, when they say when you live in Rome, you behave like Romans. Yes, it's true. When you work in a company, you want to know what that company is doing. You want to know exactly how it operates. You want to know who are the various components that makes that company work, and see how you can also help to improve it or make it more dynamic. The third one is for you to demonstrate your value to your employer. Sometimes it's similar to the first one, but very, very different. We often go to work, and sometimes we carry our own beliefs to our workplace, which could affect the way we do things. Now, if you look at the second one, which I say you need to understand the ways and method in which your company operates. So the third one means that you will now be demonstrating a very valuable value by improving and creating benefit to that business. That becomes your work ethic. You are not the type that goes to work 9 to 5 and you know that the work has not been finished, but you say, well, they only pay me from 9 to 5, so I'm not doing more than that. I'm not a slave. That could affect your ability to be highly productive in that business. It could be that all you need to put in is another extra 15 minutes. It could be 15 minutes without pay, but that could be the 15 minutes that will set you aside from everybody else. So you need to come to work with a good work ethic and the right attitude to want to learn and to want to be impactful and to want to grow that business in that organization or company in which you are working. So that's the first one in terms of how to rapidly progress yourself in your respective career. If you take those three key things into action, then you will find out that in no time, it will either be the MD or your line manager or your supervisor that will pick these attributes in you. And it is these attributes that will make them give you more responsibility. And if they give you responsibility, you know that if you perform and you excel, it gives you the opportunity to get well remunerated for it. So very important to keep those three in mind. And when you also develop yourself, that means you are able to bring in some new ideas into the business too, or into the company. Now, the second one is you've been in that business, you've been in that company for so many years, and look, like everybody, it thinks you get tired or you think you need a sea change, you want to change your career, you want to move. Maybe you're an accountant, you say, look, I don't want to be an accountant anymore. I want to be a finance manager, or I want to work in a different field. What I've observed here in Australia is that it is very hard to start with one profession and switch to the other. It is very hard. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it is very hard. Very, very hard. I remember, sorry. I remember I started as in funds management as an investment accountant, and I went and did a postgraduate study in financial planning. I said, well, this is the area I really want to make my progression. And as at that time, I was working with a company called AXA, and they have a financial planning arm, which I felt, well, look, I've studied financial planning. This should be a natural progression. No, it didn't work that way. They were very reluctant. And I remember one of the line manager calling me and said, look, Ola, you are very good in this area. Why do you want to go into financial? I said, because I studied financial planning. He said, because you study financial planning doesn't mean you can't use it effectively in this particular sphere that you are. And look, to be honest, she was right. You know, I was able to use that knowledge to work in the funds management and also pretty much work in superannuation and become a responsible entity in that capacity. So switching a career, you have to ask yourself one question. What is driving the change? Is it the remuneration, or is it career opportunity for growth, or is it both? Now, if you can honestly answer that question by yourself, then you're probably making the right decision. Sometimes agencies like ours, we do talent hunts, you know, and look, there's nothing so spectacular when you are talent hunt. It just means that usually the agency have placed you somewhere before, they know your capability. A similar role within that sphere comes through and they feel, okay, look, this person has gained more exposure and experience. This person might be good. So you might be approached by an agency that, look, this particular job, we think you are best suited, and I think the company would love to have you on board. Yes, two things happen with that. You might get elevated, and also you get well remunerated for it. If that is the reason why you want to switch your career, well, that is good too. But then you need to look at second factor, which is the stability and the culture. Now you are moving from, like they say in our culture, they say don't move from frying pan to fire. That means you need to understand the culture of the company you are going to. It is similar, is it of similar culture? And also the career you're choosing to go into, is it the one that will take you to achieve that growth that you are looking for? Or is it the one that will give you allow you to develop that you can reach your maximum ability. If you can answer those two questions, then you're on the right path to switching.
Yeah.
Then you need to look at, is it a stable career path with a long-term growth prospect and the right industry culture? You know, a lot of people, you know, when COVID happened, a lot of people were structurally unemployed, not because they're not competent, it's just the situation they found themselves. Now, if you were working in the health industry and you left the health industry and you say, oh, look, I've been asked to come and be a lecturer at Western Sydney University, and they're going to pay better, and then the COVID-19. That means exactly the long-term growth or prospect of that career that you are now choosing becomes very dicey. So these are critical things that you as a person need to think deeply about, that this new path I choose, is it sustainable, and will it take me through to the next level that I am projecting for? The last one, which is everybody's desire, is the satisfaction. You know, you switch from one career to the other, and if you are not very satisfied with the one you were doing, and you feel by moving to this new one will give you that satisfaction, then probably you are satisfying one of the Maslow theory of hierarchy, that, you know, satisfaction becomes prevalent at some stage in everyone's life. If that will give you that and will make you happy and will make you want to wake up every morning to go to work or to do something, then definitely pursue that as well. So those three things you need to take when you're thinking of switching career is to look at the passion or drive you have, the stability and the culture of the change or the industry you want to move into, and also the satisfaction that will come to you from making this move. The third one that I want to talk about is now you are in the new career, you've moved from, you know, from this old career to this new career, and you're there and you feel that, hang on, what is happening here? I seems not to know anybody. Things seems to be, am I lost, or am I in a lost zone? No, you're not. What you need to now do is activate your networking ability. What do I mean by that? You need to now find a way to put yourself in the midst of issues, you know. First, three things I picked out that can help you very well there. The first one will be your attitude. What do I mean by your attitude? If you have the attitude that you are willing to embrace people, you are willing to embrace ideas, you are willing to be proactive in a group discussion or meetings or work-related activities, then you are most likely going to be the connecting or the link with everybody. You are most likely going to be the go-to person by everybody, because they've now seen that with you, they can relate with you. You are the type that they see that, oh, is offering constructive criticism, is the type that is very supportive, is helpful. Then is the type that they know that, oh, with this person, we can always find a common ground. Then you see yourself being invited by various categories of people within that organizational structure and engaging you as well. This second one is work social activities. And this is very critical for us, especially we that we're Christians. We tend to go to work and we have exceptions. Oh, I'm a Christian, I cannot be seen sitting next to somebody drinking alcohol. Oh, I'm a Christian, I cannot I cannot be seen going to parties. Oh, I'm a Christian. Oh, that doesn't go with my belief. You've got to separate the two. Work, religion is two different entities. So you need to be able to recognize that at work, you need to relate with everybody. It's a circular world there. It's not just your own religion set of people that are there. There are other people that might be Hindus, that might be Muslims, there might be Shintos, there might be Buddha, and there might be traditional believers. So you need to let that come out of you and relate with everybody. Time for lunch, people invite you for a lunch, you go. People invite you for a drink, you go. You don't have to drink alcohol if you don't want to, but you can drink water. You can drink soda. You can drink lemonade. But by you being there allows you to interrelate with other people, also allows you to share ideas and understanding with other people. So by doing that, you are already networking. It means things happening within the structure of the organization gets shared with you. Because trust me, 95% of activities happening within an organization are either talked about at drink sessions or at lunch by a group of people. And I know when I was in the corporate world, I belonged to more than so many group of lunch people. At a point, I don't bother taking lunch to work because by the time you open your email, there's a lunch invite or a drink invite. And the more you go, the more you get to know what is happening in the organization, number one. The more also people are willing to relate with you, even outside work. So it's very important we keep that in mind. The last one is being a good Samaritan, as we've spoken in the Bible. Be the type that gives a helping hand. If there's a project to be embarked on, they need people to volunteer. Don't say, me, I don't have time. Why should I volunteer my time when nobody is doing it? It's a waste of time. If they're not going to pay me for it, I'm not going to do it. No, think about it this way. By volunteering to be part of that project, you are now learning new set of skills. And if it's not new, you are probably enhancing and developing your own new set of skills as well. So whichever way you look at it, it's a win-win situation for you. So very important that you ensure that where there's a project to be done, or even an assignment and they need volunteers, make yourself available. You don't necessarily have to do everything. Just make yourself available, do what you can, and also within a work structure and your own work group dynamism, be helpful. Help those who are struggling. Often you may not realize how valuable that will be, because when they will make comments, or maybe they need a new team leader, you'll be surprised how many people will vote for you to be their new team leader. Why? Because they've seen your ability to network, your ability to engage, and your ability to assist. So in a nutshell, when you want to rapidly progress your career, you need to broaden your knowledge and refine your skills. You need to make effort to understand ways and methods that your company operates in order to maximize your productivity. And also you need to demonstrate your value to your employer by way of your work ethics and your attitude. And what do you want to look for before switching your career? You need your passion and your drive. You need to ask yourself that question: what is driving this change in you? Is it the remuneration, or is it a career opportunity for growth, or is it both? You need to look at the stability and the culture of the industry you are going into. Is it a stable career path with long-term growth prospects and the right industry culture? If it is, then you know you're on the right track. And also the satisfaction. What satisfaction are you going to derive in this? There's no point going into a new job where the only reason you are going in for it is the money. And then every day you are not happy. So you need to think about that, because, and I'm sure Dr. Borire will talk to you what sort of mental problem that could cause you. So satisfaction, job satisfaction, career satisfaction is also very critical. And lastly, you need to be a social butterfly, so to say. That means you need to network in your industry. You need to have the right attitude to engage people. Don't be the abusive type. Don't be the grumpy type. Don't be the gossipy type. You know, be more proactive, be engaging, be involving, you know, and also be the type that opens your mind to have lunch, to have drink session, to social network and encourage them. And above all, you need be the type that is willing to help, do voluntary assignment, assist your work colleague, and also be a contributor to your environment. That's it. I hope we get something from this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very, very much, sir. We really appreciate. There was so much value in all you said. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm
You're
pretty
welcome.
sure we have a lot of questions that people are already writing now that you've inspired. Thank you very much again. For those who don't know, Mr. Ola Sumola is the director of Ascos Group. It's a multifaceted company with a branch that caters for the placement of thousands of competent locals, even migrants, into companies and organizations. He also has another branch that is an accredited finance broker representing major banks and financial lenders to provide home loans and other financial services. Mr. Ola is going to remain till the end of the program with us today so he can answer our many questions. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And so today we're moving on to our next speaker. For all of us that have questions, please keep your questions just coming in and putting in the comment section. We'll be happy to ask them on your behalf when we finish. Mr. Matthias Ehizwa is our next speaker. Mr. Matthias is the CEO of OAA Study and Group Managing Director of Aussie Council Pty. His bio is a lot. This has to shorten it. So he has over 12 years of combined experience in financial education services in Australia, Asia, and Africa. And some of his notable services include that he is the co-founder of the first tuition fee loan scheme for international students in Australia. He's also the founder of the 3 online portals for sale of overseas students' health cover insurance for Australia's biggest insurance providers, that's NIB, Medibank, and Allianz. Mr. Matthias Ehizwa, we appreciate you for coming in today. If you don't mind unmuting yourself and just saying
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Is it possible I can share some screen with you?
I think so. Yes.
Disabled. Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, anyway, thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for joining. You all know me. Most of you know me, Matthias, and I'm a businessman. And I probably don't see myself as an entrepreneur yet, because without me, my business cannot survive. And so that is the difference between an entrepreneur and a business person. So I'll be sharing with you my personal experience running business in the past 10 years. I've been self-employed and not just fully self-employed. Previously, I was combining employment and self-employment while in Australia, but in 2017, I resigned and I went into full-time self-employment, paying my mortgages, paying my bills myself. I made a big decision to make those moves. And I'll just, if the screen is ready, okay, I'll probably share that with Dr. Nee on WhatsApp. He can pass it to the host, and the host can probably get it up on the screen.
And you should be able to do it now.
Oh, I should be able to do it now. Okay, sweet. Okay, perfect. So just okay. Can you all see the screen? Just a sec. Sorry.
Yes.
One more thing. Yep. Are we good?
Yes, we are.
Oh,
Yes,
perfect.
we are.
So I'm going to be sharing my experience, and part of what I'm to do is to cover these areas from sharing my experience with you. And I run an agency, and it's not just based for Nigerians or for Africans. So I do have offices. We've grown so big in the past years. I have office in Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, Nigeria, Kenya, Philippines, even in Pakistan. And when I mean I have offices, I've been there, I invested money renting these offices and operating physical presence in those countries. And we've been recruiting series of students to study abroad. And so what we do is to assist people to study overseas, mostly in Australia. And there've been a lot of lessons in that process. As I mentioned earlier on, I combined it with my usual employment in Australia while running the business. So now we're going to move to the common thing about ideas, turning ideas into business. So many businesses we all know today all started from an idea. And small or big, the local fish shop around in your neighborhood all started from an idea. I like to fry fish. I like to fry chips. We could make a living out of this. There's no fish shop around in the local neighborhood. People have to go about 30 minutes to get fish and chips. So all these ideas comes up, and the reason why we have ideas is to make good things out of them. Ideas are usually positive, but sometimes people may have some other ideas which are not positive. But the focus for this is ideas that turn into business. So that's what we'll be looking at. And ideas rules the world. They've always been a saying about that. People are doing things, but interestingly, businesses are not built on just ideas. You probably have great ideas. Sometimes those great ideas will just remain ideas. Or as they probably say, you have great dreams. You have dreams, a lot of dreams. I want to set up a multinational company, and I want to have the biggest disability services agency in Australia. These are all dreams if you don't probably take actions. You don't put them down. One of the good books, Habakkuk, talks about vision, writing them down, making them clear, so those that see, they can run alongside with it. So in saying this again, interestingly, businesses are not built on just ideas. They are built on visions, they are built on values, and they are built on mission. So there's an interesting thing I would like to say here. When you go to some organization, probably 5, 10 years, 20 years ago, it's quite common when you see a vision statement. You go to websites, you see vision statement on the website. This is our vision to become the largest company in the whole of Africa. You see their values, you see their missions. They are all statements. They put them, and most people don't give regards to those things anymore because most organizations don't really follow those value statements or vision statements or mission statements. But the essence of business has to do with these key factors. So if you have to turn your ideas into a business, it has to be built on a vision, on values and mission. So I'm going to be exploring these three key factors while I give examples, practical examples about my own personal experience running a business. So we'll start with ideas first, because before you can even get to vision, values and mission, you need to have an idea, okay? So ideas are solutions. Ideas are usually solutions. It can be big or small ideas, okay? One thing you need to know is this: not all small companies, not all small businesses are going to become multinational companies. Some small businesses will remain small businesses for the next 20, 30 years, for generations to come. The reason it's all based on vision. Vision. What is the vision for that businesses? You'll see some accounting practice. They are just there for the 20 years, 30 years. One accounting practice. You see a medical center, 20, 30 years, just one medical center. You probably see various businesses, a fish and chips shop. They don't want to multiply. They don't want to change. I'll give you a good example. For example, in Granville, you know, a Jana restaurant. A lot of people like the taste of charcoal chicken and the rest. They started from Punchbowl to Granville, from Granville, Blacktown, Penrith, and they are just spreading across New South Wales. So that is the difference between small business with intention to grow and small business that don't want to grow. So whatever it is, it's not bad. Both of them are business. They are both providing solutions. So ideas equals to solution. It can be big, it can be small, okay? Big things start small, as we all take it from there. So big things start small. Solution is about solving a need, a want, or a problem. Or you can even enhance an existing solution. You can enhance an existing solution, like in the workplace, sometimes you hear, oh, we need new ideas. We need new ideas. We need new brains. We need new bloods. We just need fresh minds. All these are ideas, solutions that can actually change a business operation or business process. Ideas or businesses can be built on existing business. I'll give you an example. When I mentioned I have OHAC portal, insurance portal. So as part of my business doing education agency, it's a requirement for students to purchase overseas student health cover for their visa lodgements. So I have a business model. I work as a supplier with most of the insurance provider, all of them literally. I sign an agency agreement. So I get paid a commission for each sales. But at the same time, I felt that it's only when I have students coming over from Africa or coming over from Philippines that I can purchase insurance. How can I enhance this insurance business? I decided to set up some portals, online portals, get API connections with insurance providers, and put it out there. So anyone can actually go online right now, purchase an overseas student health cover. I'm just sitting in my house in Marsden Park and I get paid for them. So that is what ideas can do. You could build a lot of things out of it, and you can enhance an existing idea. So that was how I started those various portals, and they've been going as a small business, but as time goes on, we keep seeing increases. So we're going to talk about vision. Vision is objective, okay, when it comes to business now. I've talked about ideas, so many ideas, you have great ideas. They said the only way to start your dream or something is to wake up. So when you have an idea, you've shared that idea with a friend. When I wanted to start this business now, my OA study student recruitment, what was the idea behind it? You know, someone asked me this question just last week, even knowing that I'm going to be speaking today. Last week, what was my idea? Why did I start OA study? I actually came here as a student myself. I processed the admission with an assistant from someone. But before coming to Australia, I was actually recruiting students to Singapore. I went to Singapore through that process. But when I got to Australia, a Nigerian guy contacted me from Malaysia and said, oh, there's this Iranian guy who is showing my visas around to them that he did my visa for me. And as a sharp guy, he went to look for me on Facebook and like, oh, can you please process? So that was how my business started. So that particular guy right now is my first student. He's an Australian citizen, and he's also running a small business and he's doing very well. Most of you might probably know him. GDM, if you know GDM Money Remittance Services, that's a Nigerian business, and it's catering for a lot of people in the community and outside of the community. So that is how my business started. So from there, I have a vision. I'd had bad experience previously trying to come to study abroad. I was actually scammed. I went through several processes. So I decided to do a transparent business where I let people understand this is what is going on. These are the fees involved. I try to separate my fee and all this sort of vision in running a transparent business, a business that can grow, has helped me and kept me going all this while. So not that I actually sat down and started writing visions and all of those things, but when I started operating my business, I started having more clearer vision. Maybe the first year I had a limited one. As time goes on, I never thought I'm going to have an office in Philippines, to be honest with you. When I started OAA study, no idea that I'm going to end up in Philippines with an office. No idea I'm going to go to Vietnam and set up study in Vietnam. No ideas. Even to get to South Africa, the idea was Nigeria. Oh, I love Nigeria so much. Bring a lot of Nigerian students. But thank God I made the decision to switch from Nigeria market, not just to expand my business. So there were massive issues with visa grants and it affected Nigeria, but my business was still going. I was growing. So what I'm trying to say from this now, your vision can always change, okay? If you start a business, it's not that, oh, you have this idea initially. Maybe you've spoken to someone who has experience previously. From that discussion, be open, be flexible to amend that vision. But at the same time, the solution you are giving still remains, which is the idea. So that is the key. Once you have an idea, you know this idea can change, can do a lot. Look at Facebook, for example. Facebook, the idea of Facebook was not to become an advertising platform, making millions and causing a lot of issues recently. The idea was for social networking, just people networking with one another, but now it becomes a major barrier to other businesses. So be open to your vision, basically. Ideas leads to other ideas. So when you have a vision, don't limit it. It's just for you to set a course towards a future that shows what you believe, what you value, expect an outcome for an entity. So an entity, as we all know now, I'll make this very clear now. Idea is just like pregnancy, okay? It's just like pregnancy. Someone is pregnant with an idea. When you start the business, you give birth to an entity. So an entity in this regards, for example, now, under taxation system, you can either decide to be a sole trader, or you can go into partnership, you can set up a company, you can go into trust relationship. These are various entities you could set up your business, your ideas into. So the best way to start might be sole trader, okay? I'm not going to go into details about the taxation requirement for business and the likes, but one-on-one, you can always give me a chat, a buzz, we can have a chat. So the best way to start, just to get your idea up, is to start with a business as a sole trader. And there are various forms you can stake in doing that. You set up an ABN, you need to get an Australian business number. And getting an Australian business number, it's a business on its own. A lot of people are making money in the internet age. When you go online to Google, type Australian business number, you want to get one. You see other businesses, some people get misled and they just pay $100 and it's free to get an ABN. But at the end, they pay $100 for another business to get them the ABN. So towards the end of my slide, I'm going to share the link for you on how to register an ABN for free. That may be a business idea for someone here today. You can set up an online business. You sit at home and the business just works on its own. So once you get an ABN, you can decide to trade on your name. So it's not necessary you get a business name. You can still remain your name as a sole trader. You can use your name. And so as we go further in the presentation, I will talk more about some basic steps on setting up a business. So we'll move on to the next slide. So mission. So mission, which is actions. So what are your actions? What are you doing towards your vision? What are you doing towards the idea, that great idea you have? Oh, that idea has been with you in the past 2 to 3 years. What have you been doing about it? So you've gone ahead, you've got an ABN. In 2 years' time, this ABN has expired. The ATO has closed your ABN because there was no mission. Mission, a man with a mission. You always need to have a mission. So mission is the action you take to achieve your vision. Basically, the actions we take to achieve our vision, that is mission. So if you want to run a small business like myself now, I took some missions apart from having the idea through someone who contacted me, even though I was doing the business previously. Because when I came to Australia, my mind was to work and make money at the same time. But okay, how do I do this now? I have to apply for agreements to become an agent with universities and colleges. Okay, so this was the approach. I have to look at strategy. In applying to become an agent, I noticed that some of the schools, the universities were not offering me agreements. The reason being that I don't have the required license, the required qualification to be an education agent. Australia have every simple course you need to do something. You could just do a certificate 3 and you are earning $100,000 a year from a career. A certificate 4 courses can earn you $100,000 a year, depending on the occupation. The only thing I needed to do was just to take an online training to be a qualified education agent counselor, and that cost me $400. That was then, 10 years ago. $400, and I must tell you, I've made a lot of money for investing that, for taking action. I did that course. I got the license. A lot of people that wants to work as an agent, they don't have idea, they don't have knowledge, information about that. So that information comes under strategy. You need to learn. You need to keep surfing the internet. Have a research system as part of your business strategy. So I learned most of these things. I was reading the immigration website. I learned a lot how to get my business going. And other people end up becoming sub-agents with me because they could not figure out that all I need to do was to get this certificate, approach some little colleges. And so I had that strategy in place. The next part of my strategy, I need to have an office overseas. I'm here in Australia. I'm recruiting students from Nigeria. So I had to go into a partnership to set up an office. And in doing those things, why I'm sharing this story is for you to learn. There's a lot of lessons when it comes to setting up a small business. Businesses can collapse easily. My business has gone past 5 years, so I've passed the tests. And I must tell you that it's a very successful brand. And I work with very big Australian universities, and because of the sacrifice we've put in place. So partnership now, you need to be mindful of the sort of partnership you go into so as to protect your vision, your brand. You have to have control. So I had a system where I had to separate my Australian business from the partnership office I'm setting up in Nigeria so as to aid the providing support to students. I had to set up a separate venture between myself and a friend of mine. We set that up. Then I had to subcontract my business in Australia, subcontract to the one in Nigeria. So I had control. whatever commission is coming from the school, it gets to me. Everything gets to me. My business with the school remains. So I spell this thing down and it works perfectly. That has been a very successful business model because I'm not in Nigeria, I'm not in Kenya. At the same time, this model also do have its own effects. I've lost partners in the process, you know. I had to start all over again in Kenya. I've had different lessons I've learned, but my core business is protected because I try to keep the vision to myself. So sometimes if, for example, I've joined other hands with other people, I'm telling you, people can destroy your business. So you really need to be careful. Even in South Africa, when I started in South Africa at first, I did partnership with 2 other people to set that office up. Before you know, different ideas, different arguments, it all scattered. I had to go back again. I set it up myself because I'm interested in that market. So you need to have your targets, your goal, target markets. Who are your markets? These are all under mission. You know, this is where they come up with the mission statements. So mission statement is more of a summary of your mission. What are your targets? You want to do a business right now. As I said earlier on, business starts small. Sometimes your target may just be your next door neighbor, okay? Your target may just be your countryman, okay? But as time goes on, you enhance it. Why do I say your target may be your next door neighbor or your countryman? It starts from networking, okay? Networking. I had a similar background with Mr. Ola who just spoke. I did a master in taxation and financial planning. And before I did my master's, already working as a financial planner. No, I did economics before, then I was trying to get a job. I did a diploma in financial planning to add to it. And I went to AMP. AMP is a very big company in Australia. I went for interview. I passed all the technical stage, everything. The big question they asked me, what is your network? They gave me a paper, write down 20 people that you think are going to take financial advice from you. I was looking, I had to write my uncle name, one of my uncle. People are even, these guys will not take financial advice from me. At the end, AMP told me, this network, they are not leads. I could not get into the program. I ended up in superannuation fund, which I love eventually, you know, it works out well. I worked with Christian Super for 3 years. Then I resigned. So I have my master's, it's just a title, but I'm no more practicing financial planning, but it's just there. But I'm doing my business. Most of the skills and knowledge I learned from there, I'm applying on my business. So what I'm trying to say from this, network is important. When you have your idea, you need to think your network, your markets. Your market may start from your network, for example. But the essence of this teaching today is for you to think beyond Nigerian markets, for example, in Australia, is for you to think beyond African markets. But at the same time, don't limit your ideas or don't start because you could not have, you don't have a strategy yet to undo other nationalities. The first thing you need to do in Australia, you need to understand the commerce. That is a major, for you to do business, you need to know the commerce. How does the system work? If you don't understand the commerce, the business system, how do you do a proposal? How do you get, there are several ways you can do business. Now I'm getting into capital and funding, okay? There are several ways you can do business in Australia. You can start an idea. I started my business without capital, okay? When I mean capital, there was no allocated funding, okay? It does not mean I did not spend money. Don't get me wrong. So nobody start business with $0. You're still going to spend. Because I started small, I had to do a website. I had guys overseas in Nigeria developing website for me. When I started then, Facebook was there, but it was not a trend. You know, it was not really a big marketing trend. We were doing those local marketing. We do advert on newspaper, on the radio, you know, various channels. We did our marketing just to make sure, but I was spending money. So if you have an idea that is bigger than your financial, or your pocket, let me use that word, an idea that is bigger than your savings, you need to rethink, okay? That's why they said you need to start small. Not that you should not go ahead with that idea, but you may want to start something first to raise more funds, and you come up with that idea. At the same time, I know several of you in this group, you've had an idea, and 2 months later, you've seen someone doing it. 3 months later, you've seen, oh, I wanted to do this. Oh, I wanted to do this. So you just need to start. You just need to start. And you need to start. It's very important in business. So what I'm giving you guys are just practical examples. I started and without funding, but now I have a budget. I'm operating with a budget. I'm paying my staff, and I spend close to $15,000 to $20,000 on a monthly basis, managing my office globally, paying staff salary, paying commission. So it started with $0, for example, as a budget. So whatever your idea is, if it's going to solve a problem, start it. And you can combine it with your existing employment. But when your existing employment is becoming a problem, because you have to be faithful when you are working somewhere for 8 hours, don't be running your business during that 8 hours. I mean, you don't want people to do that to you. When I employ people to work for me as well, I make sure they do their job. I'm paying you for that time. So if you are running a business and you are also working as an employee, try to balance it. During those periods while I was running a business and working as an employee, I had a strategy with my employer. I spoke with my line manager, okay? I would like to finish late. My line manager, they wanted someone to close at 6 because we give phone-based advice, member support. I said, okay, I would like to close 6 and I would like to start 10 or something. So I had a little bit of flexibility. I had to make a lot of phone calls in the morning around 9 o'clock or so. During my lunch break, that is when I also make some follow-up calls and emails. It's not that long. And I was getting a lot of missed call. People are getting angry. Satisfaction is becoming an issue. So I had to make that decision when the business was growing. Okay, another lesson for you to learn now. Don't resign from your work in Australia to start a business full-time if you've not mortgaged the house. If you've not mortgaged the house, it's going to be, and if you're a resident, for example, don't make that mistake, because from my background, it's going to be difficult to get a loan if you are just starting your business, because the bank want to see tax return, financial statement for the past 2 to 3 years. So you need to look at your well-being while you're also getting your ideas on the ground. So you need to have a strategy. So before I resigned my appointment in June 2017. I make sure I finalized my home, my mortgage and stuff. I finalized some of them. So just to make sure I can go and do my business without stress, without issues. So this is just for those who want to do full-time business. You just need to have that strategy in place. And when it comes to assessing funding now, maybe you have a very good idea, very big idea that you need corporate fundings. You could share your ideas with someone, but before doing that, try to get some patent rights. You know, if you need to patent your idea, sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, sign it with the person. It shows you are responsible. Don't just say, oh, this is my brother, come and hear this thing. I want to raise fund. No, you want to raise fund. You want to ask for $1 million. You want to ask for 200,000. Tell them, please, I have this business idea, but before we can discuss about it, I just need you to sign an NDA, a little document just to help us. So you can raise funds through your friends, through families, your network. These are the first places you can access funding. At the same time, a lot of friendship has actually been affected because of raising funds for businesses that did not take up eventually.
Hello, Matthias.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to call in. I'm really, really sorry to call in. I really apologize, but I didn't have a choice because of our time. And because I've got Tokumbo Adini on the line from a Little Lagos, Tokumbo
Sure.
is actually, I think, at work, and he's got to come up very quickly so that he can get back to what he's doing. So we'll still be interested in you if you could just hold it there so that we come back to you. And I just want us to accommodate Tokumbo before he goes back to work. I really apologize for that, Matthias.
No worries.
Is that
I'll
okay?
come back to that. Yeah.
But let me tell you, you're giving gold. What you're giving is gold, absolute gold, and we're grateful. We're grateful because this is what people pay for. So I'm really looking forward to getting more and more value from you. Thank you so much. Paul, if you can just bring up Tokumbo, okay? Thanks so much.
Okay.
Just a sec, I'll give you host back, Paul. Let me get you.
Oh no, you can still. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Matthias. Our final speaker today will be Mr. Adetokunbo Adeni. A lot of us know him as the CEO of A Little Lagos, which is a fantastic restaurant. The only kitchen that serves, I wrote this just for myself, the only kitchen that serves more delicious meals are my wife's kitchen, or is my wife's kitchen. But Mr. Tokumbo was born in Lagos and he's migrated to Sydney in Australia since 2016. He's opened A Little Lagos to create a venue where Nigerian culture and its cuisine can be experienced, especially our jollof rice can be experienced by everybody. And today, it's our honor to have you, Mr. Adetokunbo, to speak to us and shed more light on your business. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for that. Thanks,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Sorry, I hope everyone can hear me well.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, cool. So, yeah, I'm just in my car sitting outside of the shop, actually. It's very nice to chat with you guys. I think a lot of what I was going to talk about, the other speakers, Mr. Ola, Mr. Matthias, have already touched on it. So it's more of just kind of supporting what they've been speaking about. I think one of the most important things, all the questions you want to ask yourself is, when is the right time to start a business? And you can't really answer that question. I remember when I moved here in 2016, I was kind of waiting for the right economic time. I was waiting for, what I considered would be the best time to start a business. Obviously, we opened during COVID. We didn't plan it like that. It just happened that way, but we just had to roll with it. So just on that, I think when you're ready to start a business, I think you should just get into it. It will never be sort of smooth sailing. You're always gonna face obstacles along the way. But as prepared as you can be, just kind of helps you to manage that. So with Little Lagos, it's a bit of a niche. So I think we're actually in a business point of view, I think we're in a kind of a safe territory. We don't have a lot of competition, and we're basically offering something that we think Sydney-siders will be interested in. A big lesson for me is, before jumping into it, try to do something like a market research, which is what I did. Before we opened the shop, we did something called a pop-up, where we went to different venues all over Sydney, trying to offer people Nigerian food and drinks just to see what the feedback was. And that gave us the confidence to open a shop. Target audience is very important as well. You have to know who you want to sell to, and you have to be sure that they're actually interested. So if you look at Little Lagos, we don't really advertise ourselves as a Nigerian restaurant or African restaurant. You don't really see those words in anything that we say or do. It's just called Little Lagos. And it's a bistro and a bar. So that way it's more inviting. Everyone feels welcome. Because if you say it's a Nigerian restaurant, someone who's not Nigerian might just feel like, oh, I don't like Nigerian food, so it might not be the thing for me. So just with that, I think we were able to identify that most people in Sydney are quite interested in trying other cuisines or other food. And that's why I felt like it was a safe approach to open up a shop. So I don't really think there's some kind of blueprint to follow. I think there are some guidelines that you could kind of use as you go along the way. It's nice to have a mentor, someone that preferably is in that industry and has done it before and have been successful at doing it. It doesn't matter if they've not done the exact same thing. My mentor was an Australian woman who ran cafes in the eastern suburbs and northern beaches. So she has no idea about ethnic food, but she has a lot of experience in hospitality, and she has a lot of experience in running hospitality venues. So she was the one that I had meetings with just to sort of understand the market and how to, how to go around it the right way. Regulation is a big thing in Australia. I'm sure you guys are aware everything is regulated. So you want to make sure that you're following the law to the T. So I think a mentor is very important. Definitely helped me. Second thing I would like to point out is surround yourself with people who are quite progressive, who are visionaries just like you. It's quite important, especially because you guys are young and your friends are probably the most important people in your life. So when it comes to peer pressure, me, for example, I always run things by my friends before I even, put it out there. So you want people that are not yes men, which means they're not going to say, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I want to open a Nigerian restaurant in Bondi. Yeah, 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 do it." You want people that will sort of, think about it and say, yeah, this is why it could work. This is why it couldn't work. You don't want negative people around you as well, just because they might think they're doing you a favor by trying to discourage you, but it can actually bring you down. It can also confuse you, and it might make you start doubting yourself. So not saying you shouldn't have friends who don't believe in you, because I'm sure you will have a few friends who would think your idea is absolutely crap, but you do need to have friends that are quite supportive and that can give you constructive criticism. So someone said the other day that you should never accept constructive criticism from someone who's never constructed anything. And I thought that was brilliant, because if you're going to give someone constructive criticism, it's almost like, okay, well, you need to bring some angles into what you're trying to explain and why you think it's not a great idea. So I think having friends that are quite supportive, friends that are very progressive, hardworking will help you, because you guys can sit together, you can brainstorm together, you can discuss together, and you can kind of like pull each other along. So the third thing is finance, which was an issue for me. And I think for us, especially Black people or African people, we always start at a deficit because we don't really have, especially when you migrate to a new country. I moved here 4 years ago. So I didn't have nothing. I had some cash, but I didn't have collateral. I didn't have a house or, anything that I could go to the bank with. So I think when it comes to finance, that could be your biggest obstacle in terms of you want to start something, you've got this great idea, but you don't have money. Um, the way I want you to look at that is there is always somebody that has money but is looking to invest. So what that simply means is if you're looking for 10, 20, or even $50,000, if you put together a business plan, a very good business plan, you should be able to approach people, whether they're silent investors or whether they're potential business partners who might be willing to invest in your business. After we opened Little Lagos, we had a lot of interest from people that wanted to invest. Now, there's a reason for that. I think they've seen that it's quite successful and they're thinking, okay, I want to put my money here. Um, but when we show them the business plan, it gives them a lot of confidence to say, yes, I've got $100,000 that I want to invest. So I would really recommend having a business plan. And one important thing about a business plan is it's not a closed up document. It's what I call a working document. It means that you can keep updating it as you go because your business is always going to change and things will always happen in your business. So you call it an open working book and you just keep adding things or taking things out. For example, we don't really do catering at Little Lagos. Not because I don't like to, but because we don't have the capacity to do catering. But eventually, it's something that we would look into adding as we go along. So if you have a business plan that you can keep editing and working out of, it gives you something to talk to potential investors about. And my experience in Sydney is there are a lot of high net individuals, people that make a lot of money, that actually are looking to invest in small businesses. It's a bit safer. Obviously, it's more stable than stocks and bonds or Bitcoin or anything else that's a bit volatile. And obviously people like brick and mortars. So they want to walk by a shop and be like, yeah, I've invested in that shop and I want to see how it's doing. So you shouldn't be afraid to go out there to ask people to invest in your business, as long as you have a solid business plan. So that's really it for me. I don't think it's a bad idea to want to go into business. I still have a day job myself. I work 9 to 5. I do this on the side, eventually hoping to do this full time. But I think if you're just in the right mental state, if you really think that you're ready for it, then I think you should just make that step into it. Find a mentor. They're helpful. Surround yourself by friends, people that are going somewhere in life, that are hardworking, that have a plan. And the third thing is seek investment if you have a good business plan. So that's it for me. I'm so sorry that I'm going to run off, but Dr. Nee knows where to find me. If anyone else wants to chat or have any questions, I'll be so happy to answer questions later.
Thank you so much for that. Sorry, Paul. Thanks a lot for that, Tuko. I really, really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
your time. I would ask you one question. I know you've got to
Yes.
go and we would not be able to, you're not able to take a question, but one question. You're
Yes.
a medical doctor.
Yes.
You've got a medical degree.
Yes.
You run a restaurant in Sydney.
Yes.
You've got a 9 to 5 job.
Yes.
Right. Tell me the transition. Why did you start a restaurant?
Okay.
Right. Why? What motivated you? Because I know there are people here. We've got, over 50 people here. A lot of them have 9 to 5 jobs. And how are you able to start? So two questions in one. Number one, how did you go from medicine, all right, into hospitality? And it looks like you want to transition into that full time. And number two, how are you able to sustain, a 9 to 5 and at the same time run a shop and you have staff and you have people you're paying working for you?
All right. So the first question is quite straightforward. I come from a family of doctors, so there was a little bit of pressure. My grandfather was a dentist. My dad was a doctor. So growing up, I didn't think of anything else apart from being a doctor. That was all I knew. In my dad's defense, he actually discouraged me from studying medicine. He thought I was very creative. As a kid, he noticed that I loved to read, and he was like, I was always drawing, always sketching, always coming up with ideas. So he said, don't study medicine because you should study business. But, your dad is your hero when you're a kid. And when I was 12, 13 years old, all I wanted to do was be like my dad. So I went to medical school. And as soon as I graduated from school, I was like, yeah, that was a bad idea. Because that was 6 years plus 1 year internship. And I was like, I never want to do that again. So I just transitioned into healthcare management, which is a safe place for doctors because you still use your medical degree to work, but you're no longer in clinical medicine. So basically, I don't go to hospitals anymore. I read medical reports, I read reviews, and I do case assessment, but I actually never I never have to go into a hospital. So that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question was, honestly, it was based on my necessity. When I moved to Sydney, the first thing I wanted to do was go out and sort of meet Nigerians. I remember I used to walk on the street and I would not see a black person. And I was like, I don't know, black people in Australia. But I think because Sydney is a massive city and everyone lives in different suburbs. So if you don't have a hub, you're actually not going to run into any black person. And then I started feeling very homesick. I cook myself, I know how to cook every food, but sometimes you want to eat with other people. You want to eat with your friends. You want to go out to eat and listen to music and have a good time. So I asked around. People told me there were Nigerian restaurants in Sydney. No one could really tell me what went wrong. Someone said there was a restaurant in Bankstown. I went there once, and when I went back there, it was closed. So that was just what woke something up for me, saying we need a place where if I want to take my non-Nigerian friends out to experience my culture, I actually have nowhere to take them except my home. And not everyone is comfortable with bringing, workmates or colleagues, like Mr. Ola was saying earlier. You want to socialize, but you can't always bring workmates into your home. So that was why I decided to open Little Lagos, because I felt the community needs a place like this where we can at least meet each other and hang out and eat food, listen to music, and sort of like network with each other.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you. So Paul, we'll get all the questions for Tokumo so that we can let him go back to work and keep the hustle, keep it going. You know, we're rooting for you. And
Thank you,
hopefully
guys.
we'll have you again at a better time when you have time
Anytime,
for us. Okay?
anytime.
Yeah,
Thank you
cheers.
so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye, thank you so much. So Paul, over to you.
Wow, that was like so much just put up. That was so much. Thank you guys. And we have a couple of questions in. I don't know. Do you want us to go back to Mr. Matthias
Yeah,
Ahizwa
I think
he
so.
can
I think we should let Matthias finish and then we'll take questions. I think Mr. Sumala is still on there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I think I'm almost done anyway. So I'll just give the last slide, which is about values and character. So kudos to Kumbo for Little Lagos. I've not been there yet, but it's on my list. It's very close to my office at Glebe, previous office. And actually, I've not met him since 4 years. I met him when he just came to Australia. We stumbled in the train station. I never knew he was the one anyway, but I'm happy to see that he has done a lot with the business. So that is what we're saying now. It's all about idea. So Little Lagos was birthed from an idea, and we're grateful for the solution they are providing. So it comes to when you're setting up a business or when you're running a business, you need to look at values. Values is character, just like as human beings, we all have characters. And most organizations, they go with different sort of values. Some will say we are intentional, we are professional, we are trustworthy, we are people, we value people, we are transparent. So keep to your values. These values are very important. For me, I'm very relational when it comes. So that is one of my business values. I'm relational, I'm available. I may not be able to take your calls on time, but I make effort to make sure I return all phone calls. I have also policies to help me reduce stress for meeting up with my commitments. So I usually don't take calls from overseas, so I can attend to most of my clients who are based in Australia. So once you chat me up from WhatsApp, you are overseas, you'll get an auto response to contact my offices overseas. But I'm happy to respond by chat or have a chat with them if they are willing to chat up. And so with that way, I can manage my values and keep up to my promises. So when it comes to businesses, customer satisfaction, it's important and it comes under values. So the values now talks about more on the customer. What are they looking at for you as an organization? What are you doing to your customer? How are you? Are you a social impact driven organization? Are you for good, profit for good? So these are just the summary. Then the outcomes of business now, customer satisfaction, business profit or loss. So whatever you've done in terms of your vision, your mission, and your values will determine your customer satisfaction. If your customers are satisfied, your customer can be satisfied and you make business loss. Okay. Your customer can be satisfied and you're making profits. But don't forget the reason why you're in India for business is to make profits. So whatever you do, try to create a balance. We know the theory, customer is the king. But at the same time, if you're not making a profit, then you need to reconsider the business. So that's all about the presentation. But the key point for those of you who are looking at setting up a business in Australia, to apply for an ABN, you go through this link and you do it directly with the government agencies involved. You don't have to pay. And just some key advice. You can set up an ABN, that is normal. But before you register a business name, you have to check if it's available. You have a great idea, great name. I want the name to be Paul Jackson, for example. You need to check how many Paul Jackson businesses are out there already. You need to check if the domain is available. The business name may be available, but the domain may not be available. And now we're in a digital economy. So you need to get a name that can go alongside with your business name, I remember a friend of mine, we're trying to have a chat about setting up a business recently. And we did similar practice, we quickly check the name, check the domain name. So you can use Crazy Domain or GoDaddy, any of those available ones. And to register the business, if it's just a business name, You don't want to go by your name. Maybe you just want to have a fancy name, electronics corporations or something. $37, that's what it's going to cost you for 1 year. $87 for 3 years registration. If you're not so sure about your business, my advice is go with the 1 year first. $50, it's a lot of money for you to put in and the business did not work. So go with the 1 year registration first. If your business is doing well, your next registration, then you can decide to go for 3 years or you go for 1 year again. The lastly is ABN lookup. With ABN lookup, you can easily check business names without going through those processes. So that is all about my presentation. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer any questions from you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Matthias. Thank you very much. That was so full of content. Thank you very much. We have a couple of questions in the chat box, if you don't mind. I don't think, okay, I think anyone can answer it, but there's one that's targeted to Mr. Ola. I don't know if you're still on, Mr. Ola. It says, how do we navigate our traditional cultural norms, like respect for our elders, and then Australian cultural norms, where you refer to your seniors by their name and familiarity is almost very immediate? The two worlds often feel quite separate to each other.
Wow, that's a good question, and it's not hard because I'll use myself as a case study. You know, we know that in our culture we show a lot of respect to elders, and also we in that sphere, I know that even at my work, where we call ourselves by first name, I still call them by first name, but it's all in the attitude. You know, you should just try not let it get over to your head that because you are calling somebody who is 10, 15 years older than you by their first name, that you see that person as your mate or as somebody you can talk to anyhow. It comes back to bite you. Even here in Australia, they have something they call the seniors, and they take it with all pride as well. So even in your workplace, let that culture that you have, let it reflect. One thing a lot of foreigners don't realize is that even here in Australia, if you can exhibit your culture, you find that they have a lot of respect for you. You know, another good example, look at the Japanese. Anywhere you say Japanese or you greet the Japanese, they always bow their head or fold their hands to greet you. It doesn't in any way diminish them or belittle them. In fact, you see a lot of people reciprocating when they greet them that way. So having your culture as part of your way of life, which is your way of life anyway, but making it to reflect in things you do in a positive way, I think will be a greater benefit.
Well, thank you very much, sir. This just reiterates what you talked about on activating your network. Activating your network ability. When you spoke about the attitude, that you said the right attitude attracts the right network. If you remember, you mentioned that, and this just reiterates that. Since I have you on my screen, I also have another question for you. You said before you make a change, we need to find out what's driving the change, and then you gave us three different questions. You said we should ask ourselves, is it just because of the numeration? Is it just because of the career opportunity, or is it both? Now, my question is, if is it wrong for it to be just about the numeration, or is it wrong, or must it be both? Like, must it like tick both boxes, or like can't you just like tick one? Like, given how most of us who are immigrants need money at the moment, and we're willing to sacrifice our time and our strength and our gray hair and everything just to get that money now, so our children can thrive, or must it always like tick both boxes? That's my question.
No, it doesn't have to. It could be both, and it could be either.
For example, I know on few occasions I was talent hunted by a recruitment agency. I think they were called Recruitment Solution twice. And on both occasions, it's it's money driven, it's remuneration. And I always see myself asking for some ridiculous, that was the second one I asked for a ridiculous amount, and they were still willing to do it. So yeah, and here in Australia, you have to know as well that if you're not well compensated, the value is less. So there's kind of your remuneration also is tied down to your value. So if you are well paid for a job, you find out that you get a lot of you command a lot of respect from people or from your colleagues or from the industry. So it could be both. But what I was trying to say is that you need to be very careful that you just don't jump from into an organization whereby they make your life miserable. I've seen people that has come into an organization and only lasted for 2 weeks. Why? Because of the organizational structure or the culture. Some organizations have such a toxic culture that if you go there, no matter how positive you are, they will wear you down and they will drain you out. So that's what I was trying to imply there. That brings us to the second one, which is the culture of the industry or the organization that you're going into. So if its remuneration is fantastic, and if it's for your career projection too, it's fantastic. Both work hand in hand, but you need to look at the culture of that organization before you jump, so that you are not or you are not there, and immediately you are already looking for another work.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. We have another question from Mr. Matthias. I'll bring you on back, Mr. Ola, in a bit. I'll just have to bring Mr. Matthias on. Mr. Matthias, this is for you. How do we get information on regulatory bodies for different types of businesses?
Well, you just have to Google. You start by searching the specific regulatory body, and everything is online. If you want to start a barbing salon, for example, you go online and they'll tell you the relevant qualification or license, what you need. So you just have to go online to Google to answer that question.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Ola, if you don't mind, I want to bring you back on. Do you have, for most of us that have business plans, do you have any recommendations of a list of business ideas that can help us to develop our plans?
Look, just like what Matthias have said, and look, business plan can be drawn, and it could be a fantastic one, but it's the passion and the drive to follow through that will carry you through the end. Even if you go on Google, you will find 1,001 business plans, and if you can tailor it to what you want. But if you're looking for a business idea or what sort of business you want to do, my advice is look at a business that is more like, that will be like an hobby for you. That is the kind of business that you will never be bored doing. That is the kind of business that you are happy to wake up every morning to do, because it's something that is of your desire. But if not, because Matthias is in the educational sector and is making a lot of money, and I said, well, I want to join him in that area. I may get into that business and not enjoy it for one day, and then it's a failure, irrespective of the plan I've written, irrespective of every planning I've put into it. But think deeply first. What is it that you enjoy most? How can you turn that into a business? Then becomes very easy to write a plan.
So yeah, sorry to cut you short. I also think that one of our like problems that we already, for most of us, we already have a plan. We already have an idea for business. We've seen an opportunity in the market, but because we are hunting for a structure that is sustainable, and so we don't have all like hunting for the right resources or the right like, advisors to give us the professional advice on what structures. There's some people that will tell you don't go into partnership because you're responsible for your partner's behavior. If you're in a partnership business, for example, if his credit is bad, your credit is bad as well because you're in a partnership. Some people will tell you don't go into sole tradership because you and your business are the same entity, and so it's better you need to divorce your business from your personal identity. So how we how can we get resources that will give us very honest advice, and we'll also be comfortable in sharing our ideas with them as well?
Okay. Look, uh, to set up a business structure is a factor of the kind of business you want to do. There are some businesses that being a sole trader will it's ideal for it. And say for example, you want to set up a grocery store, or you want to set up a tailoring business, or you want to set up that kind of business as a sole trader. Yes, it's easy, no problem, you're done. If you want to set up a legal practice, it's going to be very hard to set it up as a sole trader, because you're going to need partners. You need intellectuals like you. So they are not going to come and work for you. They want to have a stake in it. So partnership becomes the model to do that. Now, you may want to set up, for example, you want to set up a business that has an international connectivity and everything. Then it becomes that you want to absorb yourself of any uh, financial liability, or down the track. Then a limited liability company becomes the option, which is a proprietary, called proprietary limited in Australia. That becomes viable because then you are limiting your exposure, and then it may be another way of getting investors, just like what Tokumbo was saying, that if people want to invest with Tokumbo now, if the business is not structured as such that it's a proprietary limited, then it's going to have to change. If it's a sole trader, it's going to have to change it from being a sole trader to a proprietary limited, which allows for shareholders or allows for investors to come in. So the type of business you want to do might pretty much determine the type of structure that you want to have. Take, for example, it's 5, 10, 15 people come together. They may say, look, we don't want to have a limited liability, proprietary limited, but maybe we should have it as a cooperative. So there's so many business structures and options available, but it all
Thank you very
depends on what type of business you want to do. Then the structure can be looked into. And if I'm happy to assist anyone in that capacity, if you come around and say, look, this is the kind of business I'm thinking of doing, then I'm happy to provide you some solutions as to which structure that will be the right vehicle to get that business going.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ola. For all those asking this question, Mr. Ola has just also suggested that he himself is ready to advise as well, to lend his own professional advice. Mr. Matthias, do you have anything to say in this regard?
No, I think Mr. Ola have said it very clearly. The structures is very important. So there are so many factors to consider, and the taxation part of it as well. So he has covered everything. So it all depends on what you want to do as a business to start with.
No problem. We have another question here. With your expertise in real estate, how can we take advantage of the $7 billion mortgage stress that is bound to hit the Australian real estate market, as mortgage deferrals will soon end in March 2021?
Okay. Look, real estate is a real fascinating industry, and Sometimes it is the early birds that hit the fattest worm, and sometimes it could be the late one that gets the better of it. But the most important thing is how prepared are you as a person? You know, for example, if you are going to get into real estate, you got to have a little bit of savings. If you don't have that deposit to meet those obligations, it becomes very, very hard. Like the opportunities the government has given, that only cover, you say they've given it in two tranches, one to cover you if you are buying a new property, and the other one to say, okay, if you may have problem with lender's mortgage insurance, well, the government will cover that for you too. So that is a very good one for anyone that already has a savings to take advantage of. But it's not just your savings alone that will make it happen for you. Your level of income will also determine the level of financial prowess that you will get in terms of servicing that loan. So those are all the factors. Even though the money is cheap, but if you are not earning good income, then you'll be limited in the amount of money the banks are willing to lend. So it's all mixed together. But if anybody is in planning anything in that direction, please feel free to give me a call. I can go through your financial situation with you and provide you some advice as to which direction I think might give you the best outcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. There's another question, Mr. Matthias. You mentioned something about that businesses are not built on ideas; they're built on visions and missions. And a lot of people open businesses also based on the fact that they just want extra money. Is that mission strong enough, or is that vision strong enough?
Yes, definitely. When I say businesses are not built on ideas, it's just not you just having the ideas and keeping them with you, basically. So when you've started a business and that's a mission, you start trading or start doing stuff, you now have a vision that, okay, I want to be selling $1,000, $2,000 weekly. So that is it. So that particular saying is just referring to those who want to build businesses just with ideas. Having, I have this idea, I have this idea. No, you have to go out and start.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. If we have any more questions, can we just put them in the chat box? We still have Mr. Matthias and Mr. Ola here. Mr. Adesukubo is happy to take our questions later. I can't see any questions at the moment. I can't see any more questions at the moment, but if there's anything you've missed out that you still want to share with us, just to give us more informed information in this regard, I'm happy for you to speak, Mr. Matthias and Mr. Ola, and any of you can have the floor.
Okay. Look, the only thing I'm just going to add for every one of us is that do not be scared. I know a lot of people are worried and they talk about the risk factor. What about if I lose everything? And I'm sure Matthias will back me up on this, that look, there are some calculated risk that you can take. And even though, even if the outcome is not 100%, you will have learned, you will have gained some experience, some exposure, some knowledge. So if not, like this saying, nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's very important. You know, I started the recruitment business with my wife in 2003, and it was a rough road, but I remember that one of the first things we did then was to say to my wife, look, everything we're going to do, including the office and everything, we're going to rent it. We're going to rent the equipment. We're going to rent everything. Why? Because cash flow is a very critical issue. So we want to make sure the cash flow can last for another 6 months. I said, after 6 months, if it doesn't work, you have to go back to work. But as at that time, I was still working. So that's where I'm saying that that's the calculated risk that you take. And or you call it measured risk. But if you are scared to take risk, then It's nothing ventured, nothing gained. So for those who have that in mind, please be positive about it, have the idea, research into it, and bring out a mission statement and a plan, and work tirelessly to execute it. Trust me, you'll be very proud of yourself in the long run.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. One question has just come in. What is the best taxation, or what is the best form of taxation for a sole trader business that only offers services?
Well, I'll answer
I'll
that.
leave that to Matthias.
Yeah, a sole trader is you're going to be taxed based on your personal income from the business and from your employment. They will combine everything, and you'll be paying the tax rate based on your personal income. But depending on two factors now, if the income in question we're talking, it's not that massive, maybe $80,000 a year, and you have some business related expenses, it can drastically reduce your tax. But if your income as a sole trader is going in 120, 300,000, then and you have less business expenses, then you may need to reconsider your structure, like looking at the company option, becoming an employee, because if not, you'll be taxed at the highest tax rate, which might not be so interesting for you. So that is what I'll say regarding that.
Yes, so just regarding what you said, and you said you'll be taxing your personal income. So how, for example, if you are, say, a hairstylist now, and you make hair, and this is how much you gain, but you've technically not like allocated a particular like amount to yourself as this is what you earn per hour. How do you get to know what your personal income is, and how do you know what you'll be taxed on that personal income?
Okay, very, very good question. Good clarification to the question. As a sole trader and an hairstylist, whatever money you receive, it's not a salary to you, it's paid to the business, and you are the business, you're a sole trader. So at the end of the financial year, for example, when you do your books, you minus your expenses, your rents, your adverts, telephone bills, water bills, any necessary expenses. The remaining portion becomes your income. That is the income you pay tax on. So you are not paying tax on the income you receive from customers. So except if you are charging GST. So that's a different one on its own. If you have a GST component to your business, then you refund the GST back to the government after doing credit and debit in that aspect. So that is it.
Can I add something to that? Particularly for those who already do a 9 to 5 and you're earning significant amounts of money and you're looking at transitioning to start a 5 to 9 idea that you're hoping to go on, just like Tokumbo is doing, you may realize that if you start as a sole trader and you're making money, what they are probably going to do is that the profit from that business, as Matthias has said, you take away the expenses of the business, whatever is left will be added to your 9 to 5 salary. All right. And then so what I noticed, for example, when I initially started my own business and I was working still 9 to 5 in the hospital system, my tax went up significantly because of so I had to change my business structure and set up a company because I realized that was not working for me. All right. So you need to get that quite right, especially if you're doing a 9 to 5 job and you're already earning significant amounts of money. Is that correct, Matthias?
Yes, sorry, that's correct. Yeah.
Good.
One question for Mr. Ola, please. I guess I just got to know more about your business recently. I used to think you were a registrar, all this why so I never knew you are into HR. I have a lot of students who need employment now. So what are the sectors? Do you recruit for cash? Do you give casual employment? I know there's labor hire. I would like to know about your business. What are the sectors you recruit for?
Yeah, we do both temporary and permanent placements, and we definitely offer temp work and also for people that are looking for permanent job. Now, for the temporary, we only do office and logistics. We don't do blue collar, and it's for the obvious reason. too many injuries and workers' compensation claims, and a small problem with the blue collar side of business. But we do offices, which is admin, customer service, logistics. But in terms of the permanent placement, we offer both office and blue collar.
Okay.
So for your student, one of the conditions will be their visa class. If it's allowed to, if they are allowed to work in Australia, then there's no problem. One of the things we notice with a student in that category too is the limitation of the hours of work, and then also the flexibility that is required for them to be able to work in that sphere. But look, companies are becoming very dynamic these days, and they're becoming more and more flexible, especially with the COVID-19 has taught us a lot of things as to how many businesses are operating off-site now. So you never know. But feel free to contact me, then we can work something out.
Definitely, I will do that. I'll do that.
And Matthias, you have to send me the commission.
Yes.
This is a business.
I know it is.
People now.
It is. We'll do that.
Mr. Ola, before you go, just quickly, someone put it on the chat box. She said that I need employment as a business analyst.
Sorry, I missed that.
Business analyst.
Yeah. Am I?
Should they contact you?
Well, I can help them. I can help them in that sphere, but yeah, definitely, yeah.
No, at least point them to the direction. And I think she has another question there, that is there a limitation for people that are on temporary visas?
Visas.
Not student visas now, temporary visas.
To start a business.
Yeah,
there's no limitation. There's definitely no limitations. Yeah, no limitations. Sky is the limit, or even space now these days.
I think it was also meant for Mr. Matthias. She was asking about, is there a limitation for people that are on TR visas to start a business in Australia?
Okay, very good question. If you're on a student visa or temporary graduate visa, you can start a business. Any visas you own in Australia, you can start a business. The only visa that prevents you from starting a business is a visa that comes with no work rights. So when you have no work rights, you are not able to get a tax file number, and you are not able to get an ABN. So that is the challenge. So business is a safe haven for those students who want to work more. Like a lot of students are doing Ubers, for example. Uber is a business. They get an ABN and they work the way they want to work and earn. So in case of those of you, probably let me just make one of my closing remarks. I guess most of you know me, but for you that don't know me, I'm an education agent. So I help students to place them into universities in Australia. And I also give free advice when it comes to settling in Australia and what to do. If you have anyone who need my service, you can always reach me on Facebook or on LinkedIn, or I'll drop my number on the group as well. And there's also a project which we're working on right now, where it's more on a social enterprise. We want to be doing video production to tell people about how to set up a business, for example, or we do a topic on taxation, we do a topic on career skilling, upskilling, reskilling. So if you like to be part of it, you can also contact me as a volunteer. You want to learn and be part of that production. So we're going to be doing the premiere maybe in April, just trying to get more team if you are interested in those areas. So I'll probably bring back my last slide just to give that information out. So if this is clear enough, so we just want to help people with their private wealth. So we'll be doing sessions different months, like we'll have upskill, reskill section. I know Mr. Ola is going to be very handy for us. And we have the future jobs options, superannuation. So it's more on talk show, but it's going to be video production, pre-recorded, and we show them online. I go to existing businesses like Mr. Ola to interview him on HRO. How can people upskill and reskill? And we get to show them, and it will be on our website, OC Plan. And it's just giving information to people. We do something on real estate, financial planning, small business, which we're talking on today. So if you would like to be part of this project, I'd like you to get in touch with me and we could work together in this regard. So I'll leave my contact details on the chat box. So thank you very much for having me. I'm really grateful, and I hope I've impacted one or two ideas to you, and I hope you can set up your business and share your story next time with us.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for having us. Thank you also, Mr. Ola, for the valuable contents you shared with us as well. We are very grateful. We are happy to reach out to you, and we hope you will be available for us as well. On behalf of the Unified Group, which is the youth group in Beautiful Gate, we say thank you, and we hope we can always ask you to come back to us and also give us more information when required. Please, I have also dropped you a message privately to please just drop your contact information for most of us who will require your services in the future as well, please. At the moment, I think that's the end for today. I hope everyone has enjoyed today's session. I don't know if Pastor wants to say anything.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Ola. Thank you, Mr. Matthias, and Mr. Tokumbo as well, who is not here. Thank you for honoring this call. We called you and you responded to us. We are really glad for the knowledge, the value you've shared. This is what people pay for, but you've given it to us free. We are very grateful and we say thank you. Everyone if you're connected with us right now, I want you to go to the chat box now and say thank you. Say thank you. Let's appreciate them. That's the money we can give them. So I want everyone right now, go to the chat box there and just say thank you. Say thank you. And you can even describe how it's been for you. If you've learned anything, put it there. Amazing, interesting, elevating, informative, mind-blowing. I want to see impactful. Yes, thank you. Samtaya, impactful. Chanayo says thank you. Who else is talking? Lola says thank you. Duni says thank you. Olukoni says thank you. So many thank yous to you. Olaimi says thank you. Uche says thanks. Lola says thanks. Evangelist says, oh gosh, too many things. Kachumo says very informative. Yes, Alma says thank you, very informative. That's good. That's another word. Paul says very informative. Is that actually a correct English word? Informative. Okay. More of God's blessings. Awesome. David is awesome. Awesome. Matthias, so much love here. Thank you so much. God bless you for everything that you've done. So this, for those who are not members of RCCG Beautiful Gate, we're a church right here in Liverpool, Southwest Sydney. We are a church with a vision and goal is to empower people so that they can fulfill their purpose, maximize their potentials, and live to the fullest of the capacity that God has provided. And this is part of what we do. We have a youth group, and this program has been put together by the youth group. So if you're a young person, you want to have value to your life, you want to grow spiritually and in other areas of your life, you've got to be part of the group. Even if you're not a member of our church, you can always connect. So Paul is going to put the link of our WhatsApp group. We've got a WhatsApp group and a youth group called Unify. You can connect with us. We're having another program next month, Paul. Is that correct? And I understand yes. It's an outdoor program, more of a relaxed program. I'm not going to be having Mr. Ola tell us about financial planning. It's going to be chilling and having a good time. So you can always join us and be a part of the group. Thank you so much. God bless you. Paul, over to you.
Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate your attendance as well. For all those that asked questions, we hope that your questions have been duly answered. And for all those that didn't ask questions, we hope that next time you have more questions to ask, you have some more questions to ask. It's a wrap for today. We'll be meeting. Our next meeting will be a more outdoor setting kind of meeting. And if you want to join, please, if you're not in the Unified Group, please join the Unified Group. I've dropped the link in the chat box as well. We're happy to welcome you. Like Pastor said, it's a group where we want to share value. We have objectives. We want to grow spiritually. We want to grow as a unit. We want to grow as a family as well. And so thank you again for attending today. It's 7:59 and it's a wrap from us. Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you.
Switch, 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 switch.
praise. G-O-D till I D-I-E, man can't stop me cause I'm not man-made. Switch up on me, I ain't switch up, I was never there. A bunch of day one homies running off like we everywhere since day one. And stay 100, ain't playing with it, I'm off screen. Young bros with a lot of heart, we done had it hard and we all been. I seen it all go a-missing all to get a fix. I built a house up on that rock and all without no bricks. I've been on the run, I've been the one that won, I've been the underdog but I never reach. Still there on that bottom step but ain't tripping cause it'll all switch. Switch, 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 switch. Down on my knees, I'll be switching. Down on my knees, I'll be switching. Switch, 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 switch. Down on my knees, I'll be switching. Down on my knees, I'll be switching.
For my faith and my struggles, I give it all. I give it all. I give it all. I give it all.
Yeah, I give it all. You can have it all. Houses, money, cars, everything that I have. I don't wanna lose my soul and gain the whole wide world. Cause everywhere I go, people talk about material things. I am not against it because I have it all. The only time I hate it when God become a second place. I always put him first in everything I do. I can never boast in anything because it all belongs to him. They watching I play with my life. They're trying to bring me down. Always counting my failures, but I always get back up. I be saved by his grace. I be covered by his blood. Devil, you gon' come in one way, you can flee 7 different ways. No weapon formed against me ever shall prosper. 116, unashamed, never scared. Sacrifice, speak it loud, live in it, give it all. You can have it all. Everything on earth is just a temporary. My focus is more on the heaven.
I give it all. I give it all.
I give it all.
All the money and houses, I give it all. For my faith and my struggles, I give it all. 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 All the money and houses, I give it all. For my faith and my struggles, I give it all. I give it all. I give it all.
Yeah, blessed be the name of God who deliver me in the trouble. In everything that I do, I gotta glorify his name. I lay everything down so he can build me up. I try my best to be humble so he can lift me up. This is your blessing or lack. Left me out when I'm stuck. You took me out the darkness so I can experience your light. Now I live in a shame life. I'm willing to give up everything in order to proclaim me good news. Never mind what others say.
I give it all. All the money and houses, I give it all. For my faith and my struggles, I give it